Hey everyone, I am Amanda from Mandy Lynn Plans, and today we are going to talk about my personal fountain pen favorites for beginning fountain pen users. So here I have 4 of my favorite fountain pens and that I would highly recommend to anybody trying to get into the fountain pen hobby. I know that it can be really overwhelming at first. So many pens, so much information, so many terms that you might not understand. So I'm going to do my best to try and walk you through each one of these pens, why I think it's great for beginners, and then some of my personal experiences while using them. So the first thing I want to talk about while they are all here is just kind of how they look aesthetically. I mean, the very first thing, if you know absolutely nothing about these fountain pens, the first thing you're going to know about them is how they look. So this one, as you can probably tell, is the cheapest fountain pen. It is just a kind of cheap plastic. Nothing super special about the way that it looks. It does come in a couple of different colors, and we'll talk about that later. The next one here, you might be able to tell that it is metal instead of plastic. So this is the heaviest one of the bunch. I think this is my favorite one to look at aesthetically. I love the way that it kind of just tapers off. It fits really well in the hand, in my hand especially. I have, I guess, medium-sized hands, so it feels really good to me. The next one here, there are things about this design that I don't love. I don't love the way the clip looks. I don't love the hexagonal, it's in a hexagon, and that's not my favorite. And I don't love the red finial at the top, but I love the pen. So I am able to put up with some of the things that I don't love about the way that it looks. And then this last one, I'm also not a huge fan of the design personally. I don't know, just not a lot going for it for me. So the winner, just looking at them, would be the Pilot Metropolitan for me personally, but the way that a pen looks is totally a personal preference. All right, before we dive into what I like and dislike about each one of these pens, I do want to mention that all of the information that I give you regarding nib sizes, pricing, color options, all of that is what you can find on the Goulet Pens website. I am a big fan of Brian Goulet. I love watching his videos. They are very educational. They're what I watched getting into the fountain pen hobby, and I highly recommend his channel to you. I will link it. So this is definitely the cheapest pen of the bunch. As I mentioned earlier, you can buy this on the Goulet Pens website between $4.50 and $5, depending on the nib size that you get. Strangely enough to me, the more expensive nib is actually the extra fine. You can get this in extra fine, fine, and medium. I have a fine here, and I don't think that I would have purchased this pen on my own, to be honest. I actually have 3 of them, and I got them all in boho berry boxes. I already had a couple of fountain pens, and I was like, man, like, I don't need these fountain pens. They're really cheap. I would rather just use my more expensive ones. But I found very quickly that they are very easy to use, and I have never had any issues with any of them. Just picking them up and starting writing with them right away. The cap does a very good job. It has an inner seal here, if you can see this part. It does a fantastic job of keeping the nib nice and wet so that it always writes right away for me personally. So here I'm just going to write Preppy. This is a platinum Preppy. You can get it for right around $4.50, and this is a fine nib, and it is purple. I actually believe that they call it violet. And they do have 7 different color options right now on the Goulet website, and they also have a crystal one. Whatever color body you get, that is the color of ink that comes with it. So this is a, if I can get it open here, a cartridge. You can buy a converter to go with it if you would like. However, the converter actually costs more than the pen itself. So the converter in these pens are $8. It is a platinum proprietary converter, and so that kind of turns me away just a little bit. I don't love whenever I have to buy the converter separately, and we will talk a little bit about that. But what that does is allow you to put any color of ink in your pen. So right now, as it comes, you can only get this in 7 different colors, and unless you buy the converter or do something called an eyedropper convert, where you can actually fill up the entire body of the pen with ink. I've never done that. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You can watch videos on how to do that. That's a way that you can get around the converter issue. But as it stands right now, just buying the pen by itself, you only have 7 ink options. One thing I do really like about this pen is that it is a demonstrator, so you can definitely see that it is transparent and you can see how much ink that you have. This one, I have maybe half-ish of an ink cartridge left. My pink and my green ones are almost empty, if that tells you how much I've been using them. I love using them for just any random thing. They're really easy to grab and just pick up and start using. The next pen I want to talk to you about is the Pilot Metropolitan, and if you are watching this shortly after this video is released, you need to head on over to Goulet Pens right away if you're wanting one of these, because they are on sale until June 10th of 2019. So head on over there. They are on sale for $18.50, which is the next cheapest pen in my little collection here to show you. They have a lot of different colors. I only have 4. Actually, I do have a silver, completely silver and completely black. But just a couple from the Retro Pop series here, and then a couple others. So some of these are on sale for $18.50. The normal price, if you're watching this after this sale, is $23.99. And some of the colors aren't on sale. I'm almost thinking that when I was looking, maybe this green one isn't on sale. I'm not sure. And the pricing does change with the different nib options, kind of similar to what the Preppy is. So they are available in fine and medium, and some of them are even available with a 1.0 stub nib. So one of the things I really love about this pen is that it does come with a black cartridge, but it also comes with a converter. Now this is not, you know, my favorite converter in the world, but it is definitely better than no converter at all. So if you only buy the pen, you are ready to go using whatever colored inks that you want. So there's no limit to the pen body, similar to the Preppy. One thing I don't love about this converter is that it doesn't hold a ton of ink and that it is not transparent. So I have no way of knowing how much ink is in this until I start to run out, which is kind of a bummer, but I still am a really big fan of it. It is very easy to change pen bodies. This comes out whenever I first bought a pen. I think I bought a fine very first, and I didn't love it. I'm not a super fine writing pen girl, and I like my thicker lines, and so I was really annoyed until I thought, oh, maybe my husband would like it. And so he bought a medium, and then we just swapped out the nibs here and changed the body colors. And come to find out, I actually do like a fine nib with Lexington Gray. I have this inked with Lexington Gray, and it is a permanent ink, and what happens with this one is because of its permanence, the ink kind of does just not feather, but it does kind of expand on the page just a little bit more, and so a fine nib with this ink writes more like a medium. I will talk more about nibs and things in a future video, but be careful if you order a fine. It is a Japanese fine, and Japanese companies grind their nibs super fine. So a fine nib in this is comparable to like a Germany extra fine. Just plain and simple for this video. I will go into that more in a future video. So this is the Pilot Metropolitan. Just gonna say Pilot Metro. This is a medium nib. They're on sale, like I said. Normally they are $23.99, and this is, if you're curious, this is Diamine Marine. So next up in my list, and I am going price-wise, so this is the next most expensive pen on my list. This is the TWSBI Eco. And right now these are going for about $28.99. They are available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and a 1.1 stub nib. So this has a much wider nib variety than either of the two pens that I mentioned before, and probably my favorite thing about this pen is the very large ink capacity. So this is a demonstrator, so you can see exactly how much ink you have in there, and this is a piston filling pen, and so you can basically just fill up this whole thing with the ink. Because there is no converter or anything, you get a lot bigger reservoir to put your ink in, so it holds much more. And if you're wanting the specific details about any of these pens, just how much ink they hold, the length, the weight, any of that information, you can find that on the Goulet Pens website. So one downfall to the piston though is that it's a little bit harder to clean. If you are curious how to clean a fountain pen, you can watch my video that I did on how to clean a fountain pen. I show you several different kinds of pens and how to clean them. Another great thing about these TWSBI pens is that they come with silicone grease and a wrench so that you can take it apart and you can maintain the piston mechanism. Now it's not something that you need to do very often at all. I have not had to do this and I've almost had it for a year. So this pen does come in 3 standard color options. I have the white, they also have a clear, which is transparent, and then a black. And they also, Goulet right now has 4 different color options as well that are special editions. Now these come and go, so they might not be available whenever you're watching this, or they might have new ones. So right now, as of the filming of this video, they have a transparent blue, a transparent orange, transparent green, and a transparent red blossom that actually looks a little more pink to me. So this pen is postable, which means that the cap can sit on the back. I don't often tend to write with my things posted just because it makes it a little back heavy for me personally, but this is a big deal and worth mentioning because some of the other pens, the 580s and things, they don't post as well. So it does have a little O-ring on the back here so that you can securely post your cap if you like to have your pens posted. So I do have a medium in this pen, and it does write a little bit on the wet side. So if I had to do this all over again, I would probably get a fine nib on this. These nibs are going to be similar to what you would get with any other German. This is actually a company based in Taiwan, but the nibs are going to be close to the way that Germany nibs write. So similar to your Lamy nibs. So these are $28.99 on the website right now. And right now I have Apache Sunset in this pen. And I like using this in my budget whenever we go over. It really just helps it stand out. And this is by Noodlers. One of my favorite ink companies for sure. So if you're needing some good ink, check Noodlers out. So this is definitely probably my favorite pen for writing long sessions. It's not super heavy and it fits comfortably in my hand. So this last pen that I have to show you is a Lamy Safari, and this is definitely a highly respected starter pen in the community. This is actually one that I only recently acquired. I got this in April, so just a couple of months ago. And I was posting these fountain pen videos and people were commenting, "You don't have any Lamys, I can't believe it." So I had to get one to see what the big fuss was about. So these right now on the Goulet website are the most expensive of the bunch at $29.60. They are available in extra fine, fine, medium, and a broad nib. And actually the nibs are interchangeable. So you could just easily take out one of these nibs and you could pop a new one back in. The extra nibs are also available in a 1.1, 1.5, and 1.9 stub nib. You can even get gold nib replacements if that is something that you want to try. So the Safari does come with a cartridge. Again, similar to the Preppy, you do have to buy the converter separate. This is a $6 converter. It is proprietary to Lamy, so you cannot use a standard international converter in this pen. So like I said before, this is not one of my favorite things. And so if you buy the converter as well, you're looking at spending just over $35 for one pen. I have definitely spent more. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't spend that much on a pen, but starting out, there's a reason I didn't buy this pen starting out, and I only recently acquired it, and that is one of the main reasons. Another great feature about this pen is it has a little ink window here, so you can actually see how much ink that you have left in your pen. And they have a lot of different color options. They are always coming out with special edition colors and inks to go with the pens. But one thing that is a deal breaker for a lot of people is the way that the grip is. So if I turn it here, hopefully you can tell, this is a triangular grip. So if you hold your pen with a 3-finger hold here, you should be fine. The way that the pen kind of naturally, it kind of helps you hold the pen this way. If you do not hold your pen this way, if you have a different grip, I've seen a lot of different grips in my life. I taught 1st and 2nd grade, so I tried correcting a lot of really bad habits, pencil grips. But anyway, if you have a grip different than a 3-finger grip, this might be a deal breaker for you. This was another thing that kind of turned me off at first. I didn't know how I would like it, even though I do have a 3-finger grip. And I will say it's not my favorite, but it doesn't bother me as much as if I held my pencil or pen any other way. So it is very lightweight, so that is definitely, it could be either an advantage or a disadvantage. If you're somebody that likes a little bit of weight to their pen, this might not be the pen for you, but they do have an aluminum version called the All-Star. It is a little bit more pricey, but the design is very similar. It is just an aluminum body instead of the resin. So as I mentioned before, I've only had this for a couple of months, and my starting experience with it was not the best. I had nib issues from the get-go. It was not writing smooth. I went ahead and bought a fine because of my experience with my TWSBI. I wanted a little bit finer. I didn't want it to be too super wet, but it was just really scratchy and it was not writing very well at all. So I actually had to do a little bit of nib tuning, and I will explain that in my nib video to come. But it's still not perfect. It is not my favorite writing experience. I know that is probably not common. I could buy a different nib to replace and try and get a better writing experience, but honestly, I have other pens that I like more, and so I'm not really that worried about it. I use this for writing checks. I have a permanent ink in here that I use, and so I don't use it very often, but it does the job whenever I need it. So this is the Lamy Safari. And this is the Lexington Gray ink. So even though this is a fine, it does write more like the TWSBI medium that I mentioned before because of the way that the Lexington Gray kind of spreads out. So this is a fine. They are going for about $29.60 plus $6 for a converter, if that is something that you are wanting. And this, as I said, is Lexington Gray, also by Noodlers. So for a short writing like that, it was fine. It was a little bit scratchy, but not terrible. If I'm wanting to write something for a longer, then I will either choose my TWSBI or my Pilot Metropolitan. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you are new to fountain pens and just wanted a little bit more information, remember to head on over to gouletpens.com if you are wanting to know more information about the weight of the pens, the ink capacity, and also they have several nib writing samples if you want to compare different nib sizes and different pens. They are different. A fine is not the same in every single pen. So head on over there if you are wanting more information. They are in no way sponsoring this video. I just really enjoy the information that I have learned from them. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I will be there. I know I didn't answer all of them. I tried to give you as much information as I could. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.